Hi, I'm Blake Gray, and I am here with Autumn Shelton. She is the co-founder of Autumn Brands. She's got that in her awesome background, so we won't forget it. It is a state-grown cannabis flower from Santa Barbara County. Autumn, you only do flower, right? You don't do vape cartridges or...
We do have vape. We do have a vape cartridge, and we're working on a topical at the moment as well.
Okay. But you started off in the flower industry. And so you're a farmer, which is interesting because Santa Barbara County is famous for farming a lot of things, and it's become increasingly a hotspot for farming cannabis as well. So I wanted to talk to you about how things are going right now with the pandemic and the lockdown and the nebulous legal status about whether or not cannabis is an essential product.
Well, at first it was just the local municipalities stating that it was essential, but Gavin Newsom did come out with his list of essential businesses and dispensaries and all businesses that support dispensaries, being cultivation, distributors, labs, manufacturing. Those are all also essential under the order.
Oh, thank you, Gavin. So we won't have a shortage. Fabulous.
So we fall both under medical and we fall under food and agriculture. So under both those elements, that's where we were able to keep going. We've really had to implement some really strict, of course, rules within their facility. As far as everyone being 6 feet apart, everyone wears gloves and masks. We've had to alter lunch and break times to make sure that everyone remains separate. Most of the office staff is now working from home, including myself. And, we have 2 full-time people cleaning all day long, over and over and over again. So just maintaining that really sanitary work environment for all of our employees and make sure that they're all safe. If anyone has any inkling of a cold, then they need to stay home, or even if they have someone at home with an inkling of a cold, they have to stay home, and we're giving sick time. So really just implementing to make sure that we don't spread this virus doesn't come into our farm, but that we're able to continue to really produce medicine and anxiety relief for all those people out there that are still in need of that right now.
Yeah, now I'm on record as being a huge fan of wine and spirits, but at the same time, I think that cannabis is better in this situation for exactly the reason that you mentioned. I think if people are very stressed, I know I'm very stressed, like when I'm very upset, I would rather not have alcohol because it's kind of an emotional intensifier. Whereas I know that I can find a strain of cannabis that will calm me down. So I really think the government made a good move there. Do you have any sense about how sales are going? I mean, alcohol sales are way up in March. How about cannabis?
Yeah, we saw a huge boost as well. Dispensaries were just getting overloaded with people shopping. Delivery services are seeing an all-time high. We did see some of the numbers are showing for some dispensaries, there's a little downturn in some of the states like Colorado, Washington, and California, but we're not really seeing that right now. Our brand and the dispensaries that we work with all seem to be going strong. I mean, you often see dispensaries buy a bunch at one point and then wait 3 to 4 weeks and then buy again. And you'll see that with shoppers as well, because, with cannabis, there is limited how much you can buy in a day, whereas alcohol, you can buy as much as you want in a day. So you can only get an ounce a day as an individual in a dispensary. So you're going to see people, I think, continuing to keep going because they need to get replenished. But I think we saw that big boom because they weren't sure if it was going to stop, and it didn't because we got deemed essential. So I think we'll just see it kind of flatten out a little bit. And we'll see some people, I think, we'll see a lot of new customers come in. Because now it's more accessible. I think that's been part of the hurdle for a lot of people, that they're scared to go into a dispensary. But now that they're aware that they can get it delivered and that it's an essential item, that I think you'll see a lot more people trying it out. Plus, people are at home a lot more. So what else are you going to do? You want to try new things.
You're going to mix and binge. It's going to help.
Yeah. And cannabis it's definitely going to be, healthier for us to utilize that rather than drinking so much. Because, I've heard the jokes right now is, oh, I went to the store for the 3rd time this week to get 2 weeks worth of alcohol. because people are just, what else are you going to do? You're sitting at home. You don't have a job to go to right now, or you have more free time. So cannabis is you're not going to wake up the next morning and go, oh, shoot, what did I say last night? Yeah. Or wake up with that hangover the next morning. Oh, I feel terrible. You know, cannabis is really an incredible plant, medicine, but also recreationally. It can make you feel just really relaxed. It can make you feel more creative. You know, I really enjoy it for the purposes of, I actually get more awareness when I drink it. I'm a wino for sure. I do love my wine, but you know, it's kind of more of just a relaxing thing, kind of more focused. Whereas cannabis, I feel kind of, the world kind of opens up and the awareness opens up when I consume cannabis. And so I really enjoy that aspect about it. And that's why it is really important for anxiety relief, stress relief, moderation, keeping everything in moderation. Cannabis is really great for that.
Now, of course, the problem with a lot of new customers coming online at this time and ordering is that when I started going into cannabis dispensaries, I found there are a lot of really good bud tenders who could give me good advice. And if you're ordering online, you gotta wing it. So let's say somebody's watching this and they're generally a wine person and they're just dipping their toes in cannabis. I mean, what would you suggest that they might want to start out by ordering?
Well, you definitely want to go low and slow. I mean, that is always the rule if you're new to cannabis. You don't want to get something super high THC. You know, there's oftentimes you can do the microdosing edibles, or if you just get a little bit of cannabis and have a joint, have one hit, have two hits. That's what I like. You know, back in the day, I think there was a lot of bong hits, and you're envision just getting super, super high. Whereas you can treat this like a glass of wine. You can have one hit off a joint, or you can get a microdose that only gives you 2.5 milligrams. And so you just try it a little bit and kind of see where you go from there. And I think what we're going to see, the opportunity here, is we're going to see a lot more virtual education. So whereas you can normally go into a dispensary and get that bud tender awareness, you're going to see more of that on their social media. So perhaps on their Instagram page, they're probably going to do a story of a bud tender showing you the different types and different brands of what maybe you're looking for, and do it educational that way. That's what we're doing as well. We have brand ambassadors out there that normally go to dispensaries and stay for 3 hours and talk to the consumers about our brand and who we are, and what our products can do for them. And so we're doing the same thing, where we're creating all these virtual videos and allowing for more Q&A and doing it on a live stream. So that's going to be the new opportunity for consumers to be able to really learn.
Now let's talk about your product a little bit, because I know I interviewed you last year, and you're completely organic still, right? You're in a greenhouse, and it's full of mites and ladybugs and all these beneficial insects, and they're keeping the product clean, right?
Right. We are 100% pesticide free. Everything we do is all natural. So we do use beneficial insects to kind of combat the bad pests. And, you know, it's a hard program to run, but it's really important, because even if you spray just the tiniest amount of pesticides, it ruins the environment altogether. So we've been able to create such an incredible, healthy place for these plants to be in, that we have ladybugs and their baby larvae and native ladybugs that people haven't seen in years within our greenhouses, because it is such a clean and healthy environment.
Oh, that's great. And tell me about your workforce. Who works for you, and where did you find them, and are you able to keep them all working during this pandemic?
Well, this farm originally was a cut flower farm. And so we switched over to cannabis in 2015. And a lot of these employees were there before. And so we've been able to teach them new skills as far as trimming, new ways of this plant and the greenhouse and harvesting and growing clones, and how this whole new type of agriculture works. And so we've had so many, even I think they've been on the farm for 30 years. And others have come in that are new, and they come in from either Carpinteria, where we are based, or a little bit further south. And we're able to really provide really good wages, good opportunity, health benefits, and like I said, skills, where they've been able to make more money than they ever had in any other industry.
Oh, that's great. And I know something that we also talked about last year. Like yourself, there are a lot of women in powerful positions in the cannabis industry in a way that you don't see in a lot of industries. You certainly don't see a lot of women in powerful positions in wine or spirits industry. Why do you think that is?
I think absolutely this is because it's a health and wellness product. So it's not just something that's, at the end of the day, gonna help you unwind. It's something that's actually really good for you and something that provides a lot of benefit. You know, our bodies actually have the endocannabinoid system within us that actually naturally binds to cannabinoids in the cannabis plant, such as THC and CBD. And so that's why cannabis is such a powerful plant, because it actually is our natural body regulator. And so when something's kind of out of balance, if we consume cannabis, it can balance that out. Whereas alcohol and other things are just kind of more of a recreational helper, I would say.
That's funny because I think of, I also think of cannabis as a recreational helper as well.
And it does both, but I think whether you think it's medical or not medical, or you want to title it medical, just somebody being able to relax and relieve anxiety, you're using it for medical purposes.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, about an hour and a half ago, some paramedics came to the apartment across the hallway, and they took my neighbor away, and I'm going to need some cannabis after that, because I'm all paranoid and freaked out. And alcohol is not going to help me. I like that neighbor, but I'm germ paranoid, and wow. But I mean, this is the times that we live in, and it really calls for now. Briefly, THC and CBD. A lot of people, a lot of companies are out selling CBD that's kind of been sliced and diced, taken out of the plant, reconstituted liquid or whatever, and added to things. But that's not going to be as effective in stress relief or in physical relief as the full spectrum of cannabinoids that you would get from flower, correct?
Correct. And what you'll see, I mean, the whole CBD you can buy on Amazon or out there, that's going to be coming from a hemp plant. So it has a minuscule amount of THC. And if you do just hemp and it just says CBD and it has been sliced and diced and that's all you're getting, you're not getting all the benefits unless you get all the cannabinoids from the plant, whether it's hemp or cannabis. Now, the more THC you have in it, the more benefits you do get from it. Our body, like I just mentioned, has the natural receptors to THC and CBD, but it actually has the direct receptor to THC, not CBD. CBD actually has to go through THC to enter our endocannabinoid system. So it's something that really, you really need that THC to get the full effect and benefits.
Yeah, the gold rush to get into the CBD market is kind of annoying, and it also it rings of goop, and that's product. Now, I'm curious, Autumn, how did you decide that you wanted to get into the cannabis industry?
Well, I was actually working for my current partner, as his CFO for his cut flower business, and he was approached by some gentlemen that wanted to lease out greenhouses for medical marijuana. And so that was the start of it. And my partner's never consumed cannabis, and he was quite anti at the whole thought of it. But after a lot of discussion and where the cut flower industry was really going, which was down with all the competition with South America, decided that was a good idea. And then shortly after, we decided to do our own thing with his 2 kids.
Huh. That's interesting. Does he use cannabis now?
No, we're still trying.
That's funny.
Yeah. But he's a strong believer. He understands what it can do. He's seen it firsthand. I mean, he's had family members with cancer that have found extreme relief from it. So he understands it. And he's, really learned, he's utilized all his generational experience in agriculture to really be able to develop and grow alongside with his son, who's with us as well, this incredible natural plant. And so they've really dialed it in. And people think it just grows like a weed, which it does, but it doesn't grow good like a weed. So it definitely takes a lot of care.
You left it alone. What's the difference between what you're doing, what kind of plant you're going to get from cultivating it as you are, or if you left it alone?
You won't see the same consistency in THC to CBD. You won't see the quality of it. You're also not going to be. It's not gonna grow as luscious or look as good, I would say, as it does with somebody that knows actually what they're doing. Because we're greenhouse growers. There's outdoor growers, and then there's growers that just grow indoors. And outdoor, you have all these pests. So if you're not in there and actively working with these pests to be able to your plants, you're going to have issues. So there's just a lot of different elements that go into it.
Now, With the flower, what are the main pests that would attack the plant?
We have aphids, spider mites. There's some other ones I can't pronounce. um, you can get powdery mildew. Mold can grow if you're not taking care of it, if you're not in the right humidity. And that's why Santa Barbara County is just great. We just have the right coastal humidity for growing cannabis. So there's a lot of different.
Dry in Santa Barbara County. It's mostly cool and dry, right?
Mm-hmm. Which is the perfect temperature of what you want.
Mm.
And we get a lot of sunshine.
Now, when we talked last year, the cannabis industry and the wine industry were butting heads a bit because of the smell issue. And I haven't checked in on that in a little while, and I'm wondering what's going on with that.
They're still butting heads. It's still, and the wine industry is having a hard time right now, as well as their prices are going. There's too much production in wine country right now, so they're really fighting hard to not have cannabis so close to them. They're afraid the terpenes in cannabis can affect the grapes, but still there's no proof of that. So really, we're still hoping that finding a way to really be able to work together. Now, we're not up in the wine country, so it's not something that we're directly working with, but we really see a future where you can have a winery and you can have a cannabis grow, and you'll be able to do tasting right next door to each other. And so there's this really great tourism, I think, benefit that we'll see down the road once we can all figure it all out.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you from years of covering the wine industry, there are plenty of wine growers who've been growing a little cannabis for a long time. So it's not like they've never been next to each other.
Yeah, and you'll see some that'll switch over if they can't make it in the wine industry because there's so many. They may switch to cannabis.
But that is also a question about. There was a time last year where it seemed like there was a glut of cannabis, and people were talking about how the growers are going to fall out of the market. How is that going now?
Well, in the first year in 2018, we saw so many of these temporary licenses, and I think everyone just jumped on it and thought, okay, I'm going to try it out. And then that has at least halved by now of the licensed cultivators in the state of California. So there's not as many licensed cultivators actually doing it, whether they never intended to do the legal market and they were just riding that wave, or they couldn't afford it, or they just decided to go back to the black market, or they're doing something else. So right now we don't see, there's still a huge demand. We saw prices higher in the beginning of this year than we did last year. So, every year it's very seasonal. There's the outdoor market that harvests only once a year in October. And so that really floods the market. And so all the prices drop, demand drops. And so it is harder for everyone else to be able to sell. And then whereas you come into the spring and summer, you see the demand just spike and prices spike at a wholesale market rate. Now this year, the price started going up in January, where normally it doesn't go up till April. So we're already kind of seeing a good, strong demand for this product. But I think that's twofold, right? That's maybe not as many cultivators, but there's also more users. More dispensaries are coming online every single day, more delivery services. People are becoming more educated about cannabis and it's one of our biggest markets is first time users are getting used to the idea and trying it out. And baby boomers, of course, these, people are tired of all these medications that they're on, and they just want to be able to have something that's not going to give them all these side effects. And so you're seeing more and more of them being able to access it. And Gavin Newsom just put into a bill where we can now donate without paying all these taxes to the state to different people. So that's a really great opportunity to get back to that medical marijuana need for those that can afford it and be able to really support them.
Nice. Now, tell me about I know about the outdoor cycle because that's all harvested in October, but what about now? You have a greenhouse. Can you have a crop that comes in spring when there's just less flower on the market?
We're a greenhouse, so we are always growing. We never stop. So we actually filter through our plants every week. We're replanting and harvesting every single week. So we're year round.
Okay, so we're not going to face the crush of a cannabis shortage, hopefully this spring.
No. Anybody who is a greenhouse grower or indoor grower will be growing year round. and they'll be processing their plants every single week. Whereas the outdoor market, some will use hoop houses, and so they might have 2 seasons, but for the most part they'll have 1, and they're growing these ginormous plants, whereas we're growing in smaller plants like we did with cut flowers, and so it's more of it's a faster process.
Do you get as much yield from the more smaller plants as you would from fewer larger plants?
We did a test, and we feel we get more yield out of the smaller plants. You get a lot of issues too with bigger plants. If you get these big, huge, I mean, people love to see these huge colas. Well, those huge colas can easily get filled with bud rot inside of them because it's too dense and too big. So by having actually the smaller buds and by being able to move it and not be out there to the elements for that long, you're going to see less issues and see more substantial amounts of yield.
Now tell me, if people are watching, they want to try out some cannabis. Tell me about a couple of strains that you would recommend and what people could expect from them.
Well, we have wedding cake. The cakes and the frostings right now are the big hot ones to go for. And a lot of times you'll find the sativas, they're going to make you feel a lot more energetic, more creative. It's kind of more of a daytime. And whereas you have, which would be more of a dream walker that we have, which gives you these really blueberry notes. And that's going to really kind of allow you to, go about your day and really maybe come up with some new ideas or write a book or, whatever it may be that you're looking for. And we have other ones like, let's see, sour diesel. And a lot of the ones that we have are really hybrids, and so you're not going to feel too much of a body high or too much of a head high. You're just going to feel that right balance.
All right. Well, Autumn, I really thank you for joining me on for this conversation today. Good luck. Keep the cannabis coming because we need it.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Thanks, Autumn.